Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Terry Mullen, and I am so grateful you're here. I am very excited about this podcast episode today. I am interviewing someone I have wanted to interview for a very long time, someone that had a huge impact on my life. In fact, 10 years ago, she was my half marathon trainer. And at the age of 57, she developed breast cancer. And so in this episode today, you're going to hear a story of hope, of overcoming, of perseverance, of a positive mindset, and lots of tools to help you step forward and stay healthy with your life. Today is actually her 7-year anniversary of being cancer-free, so I'm so excited to launch this episode today. But before we dive into the interview, she actually wrote a song because she's a rock star by day, and it's a beautiful song. So grab your headphones or a warm cup of coffee or go for a walk and just take it all in. You're going to be blessed. Merry Christmas.
Well, then why don't I play the song for you that I wrote last week when I picked up my guitar and I needed healing. It's pretty bare bones because I just wrote it and I have all kinds of ideas with it, but here it is, and it's called Christmas in My Heart. Packed my bag so long ago. On the road I took them far away from home. Said goodbye, see you soon. Once I write that golden tune, made my way towards the sun, tried to fit in with everyone, sang my heart out, I shared my soul, sacrifices for my goal. But then summer stumbles too far, and nothing changes at all. Then it's that time of the year when all I want is to be back home and have my loved ones near. It's always Christmas, it's always, I belong there always. Open arms, it's always Christmas in my heart. It doesn't matter where I go, deep inside I know the love that waits at home. I reach the lights all on my own. You lift me up, I'm not alone. When the clouds move in my space, I close my eyes and see the place. Silver linings save my soul when I remember where I'm whole. But then summer stumbles too far, nothing here changes at all. It's in my bones that time of the year when all I want is to be back home and have my loved ones near. It's always Christmas, it's always, I belong there always. Open arms, it's always Christmas, it's always Christmas, it's it's always, I belong there, always, open arms, it's always Christmas in my heart.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful song. I am just so excited about this interview. It's just going to be an amazing interview. You're going to be so blessed. But this is someone who I'm going to cry. Wow, already out the gate, who had a great impact on me. It's been 10 years. I was at kind of a challenging time in my life. I was kind of going through a lot. Had moved back to California from Texas and was feeling really uncertain. And we were out on a hike with my friend Cindy. And Cindy, if you're listening in, hello, woohoo. And she saw me run up a hill and she said, hey, there's this half marathon coming up. Would you be interested in doing that? And at that point, I was saying yes to a lot of things. And I said, yeah, sure. Where is it? So she said, I've got this amazing trainer. She has a company called Believe, and she'll train us through this half marathon. I'm like, okay, great. I'm in. So this is who you're going to hear today. You're going to be blessed and blown away by my friend and as someone I know as Coach Chrissy from Team Believe. But she is so much more to so many. And you're going to hear that in this interview that we're doing today. She's an awesome human. She is a rock star in the human form and also in real life. She is a singer and songwriter. She is an author of a book called Another Interruption. She's a Pilates instructor, a personal trainer, an endurance coach, a hobby chef, and a cancer survivor. And if you could see her on video right now, she's absolutely beautiful. She's going to be 65 in just 3 weeks. I cannot believe it. You look amazing. So without further ado, please welcome my amazing friend, Chrissy Lomax. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're making me cry from that introduction. My goodness, Terry, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I just will say that we should have also mentioned in that introduction, I have many years of my life as a professional makeup artist doing makeup and hair.
So that's why you look so fabulous.
You know what? So there is a secret, right? To know how to apply makeup. And thank goodness. Yeah, that's all I can say. But thank you for that. Yeah, it is great to see you. I'm so proud of you. And just to let everyone know that your friend Cindy and you were the leaders of the pack. You were the makers on the team.
Oh, thank you so much.
Kept everybody motivated forward. Yes. So stepping forward only makes sense and completely made sense when you introduced this whole new you and the shoes and the different shoes we wear. And yes, and you read my book and you can see that I applied what we learned on the training course, the blood, sweat, and tears of training for a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, or a half marathon, which what you did twice.
We did 3 times, actually.
3 times, wine country and in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You go through all of that. You know, it's really amazing. You go through all of the blood, sweat, and tears. You learn all of that going through that. And I applied that through my journey through my year of treatment for cancer. Yeah. This is a marathon of a short marathon for my life. So I get ready and set myself up for success. And we can do that.
Yeah. Amen to that. And it's so interesting, Chrissy, because we'll dive into a lot of this, but with your book, that was one of my takeaways, was that you trained for cancer the way you trained for the marathons and the half marathons, the way you taught all of us. You did it, like, I'll never forget, 1 mile at a time. And you'd say, how many miles do we have to go? And we'd say, 1 mile, 1 more mile. And it was always focusing on that 1 more mile. But that theme and your mindset really is what's throughout your book and your journey, which I want everyone to get, by the way. I'm going to put all that here in the show notes. You can get Chrissy's book on Amazon. It's called Another Interruption, correct? I keep calling it Another Disruption, but it's Another Interruption, and you can get it on Amazon. But you literally are a rock star in human form. I just, when people read your book, you'll see I could not put it down. And so I think this is a really, really powerful message for midlife women to hear your journey and how you got through it. And we were just talking, you're 7 years cancer-free, which is unbelievable.
Yes, on December 11th, it's a big day, and I
Wow.
will celebrate that day. We're going to Solvang, so I can pretend
Wait.
I'm a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Woohoo! And I think, you know what? I think I'll launch this episode on December 11th.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
so great. Wow.
wouldn't that be cool? December 11th. Let's do it December 11th. I'll have it ready to go.
He's awesome.
And let's celebrate that. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
You're
that's
welcome.
yeah.
Because I read your book, I would love you to kind of just share a little bit about. I kind of divided this in different, sections like young Chrissy, and so tell the audience just a little bit because you have an amazing life, not only who you are, but some of the things that you've been through even before you hit cancer. So, do you mind sharing a little bit just about your early life, what you call your first disruption or interruption? I keep saying disruption. But share a little bit about kind of who you are and your younger years, because it was pretty pivotal then too.
Okay, well, I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada,
Yeah.
the Hammer, Steel Town. Grew up there, and when I was a kid, I was always making things. I was always creative. I always wanted to make things and always write songs from the time I was a little kid, writing songs and making poems and writing books and making cookbooks. And I wrote songs and I played the guitar and I made recipes, and I made arts and crafts. And, I just love all that. So I just like making stuff, I like creating. And anyway, I ended up really starting to share my songs with my acoustic guitar in and around from the time I was a preteen. And then that and getting into high school and learning other instruments and the music classes and courses. And before I was 20, I was on the road as a musician, singing background in a band and playing percussion and, congas and flute. So I did all that and then ended up taking my own band on the road with, my high school boyfriend who ended up being my first husband.
Wow.
And, it's real. I said to you earlier, I said, I wrote you that. Yeah, my first husband. I kind of forgot to mention him in my book. No offense, he's a nice guy. I didn't, it wasn't, I guess it wasn't part of the story of the journey, as much as, you know.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, I was young and anyway, we were on the road and traveling across Canada and I was home for Christmas one year from being on the road. And when I came home from Christmas, I often would get a job. And my
Mhm.
dad, okay, come and work in the office, come work in, I ended up learning so many things. I can do any job, I'm telling you. First of all, I'm
Yeah.
a musician, so I
Right.
can bust any table like nobody's business, okay?
Say that
Yeah.
again. You can what? Bust a table like nobody's business.
Yeah. So, I was working in the office that he was at, doing accounts payable, receivable, whatever, reception. Anyway, it was a holiday party at that place that I was working at for the winter. And that car I was getting a ride home in was in an accident going through an intersection. And I spent the next 4 years recovering from that. And I had the jaws of life got me out of the back seat of that car. And the firefighters did visit me later on in the hospital, and they said I looked like a doll in the back seat of the car. And then they saw me gasp for air. And that's when they got the jaws of life and got me out. And these guys saved my life.
Wow.
Any longer, I might not have made it. Yeah, my skull was multiply fractured. I lost my vision and my memory for a few months because my brain was swollen. I having temporary amnesia was a little bit funny. My vision was kind of not there for a while, and I couldn't walk for a while. They said I may never walk again,
Wow.
and so I recovered, and it took some time,
Yeah.
and I was very stubborn to get well. My hair was growing in and it would fall out and then it would grow because they had to shave my hair off to repair my skull. Yeah, and there was one hole they left in my head that used to be at the size of a quarter. And
Yeah.
now you put your finger on there. I think you might have felt the hole in my head
I
before.
did. I remember. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like less than the size of a dime. So like, yeah, me and Charlie Brown each have a hole in our head. And Yeah, so they had to shave my hair off, okay? And so here I was having it try to grow in. My mom was still with us at that time, and she was a hairdresser. She was massaging all these things in my scalp, and then it would grow in and then it would fall out again because my scalp was just so damaged from the impact, the surgeries, and everything going on. Eventually, I got well. I got strong. I strengthened myself. I learned a lot about nutrition and fitness and how to overcome injuries. And
Yeah.
I got really strong and put my first band at that time back together. And we're talking, I'm going to be 65. So this is a long time ago. We're
Yeah.
talking in the early 80s now, So I put my first band together, was after that, the accident was called Step One.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Step forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I love
And
it.
it was, I know, same mindset. And step one. And so played locally, just stuff like that. And then it just went from there, then moved to Toronto from Hamilton and lived in Toronto and recording there and performing there. And lo and behold, there's this recording engineer there.
This
And
very handsome recording
yeah,
engineer.
and I wasn't married then. And yes, and we ended up making great music together, shall we say. And he's been my partner in crime. We've been married 35 years. And
Awesome.
so together about 37 years, I guess, give or take, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so we came here 3 months. We
Yeah.
moved 3,500 miles away from our family 3 months after we got married. We've been here in California ever since.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. So when I came here, then it was just a lot. I did every kind of job. Joe went right away. He's a recording engineer. He was working right away at some vintage studios, Amigo studios. He was at all kinds of studios around. We were very fortunate to go to Japan several times
Wow.
to work, and Joe was engineer and mixer, and I had the opportunity to write for a fabulous Japanese artist. She has been a recording artist for over 40 years and
Oh,
a
wow.
singer-songwriter in Japan named Anri, Anri. And I had the
Oh,
opportunity to work with her and vocal coach and chorus arranger. And with Lee Ritenour, we wrote a song for her that is on one of her albums called Our Little One for a friend's newborn baby. And so that was a really nice time in the 90s for Joe and I to be able to
yeah.
travel to Japan, love it there, beautiful place, and be able to work
Yeah.
internationally like that. Yeah. The thing is, when we talk about going through these years of our lives, between our 40s and 30s, 40s, 50s, there's so many things that go on. And let's face it, there's many changes that happen in our bodies and hormones that happen to our bodies that change as we age. And we need to find some grounding. We need to find
Mm,
ways to bring us back to a place where we feel safe, where we feel comforted, where we
yep.
feel authentic,
Mm,
and where we feel like we don't have to prove ourselves.
right.
And doing what I have chosen to do, and I don't recommend it for anybody, just like I don't recommend 27 marathons for anybody. Do one, get it out of your system, move on. Okay, do it. I wouldn't have all this damage going on here. Yeah, like I'm just overboard and everything, but we need to bring ourselves back to that one thing that can help us feel like we're not being judged. And no matter what we say, we can be ourselves and not worry about it. And it's always at home.
I love that so much.
Right? It's always at home. And last week I was just feeling like that. And this time of the year is the time of the year that a lot of people are excited
Yeah.
and decorating and wrapping and and spending money and whoop de do. And it's like for some people and getting ready to travel and for some it's a concerning time because they don't know how they're going to make it through financially and gee, how am I going to buy these presents and how am I going to make this dinner? And for some it's a very sad time because it might be the first year that you're going through this year without somebody. My dad just died a few months ago.
Oh, Chrissy,
Lost my dad, and
I'm
he's
so
not here.
sorry.
My
Yeah.
brother-in-law, we had a whole year of that kind of loss. So for me, it feels different as much as I'm trying to make this a special time for Joe
Yeah.
and I here in our African gray bird Stewie.
Yeah.
Whoever else is needing somebody to spend Christmas with can come here. Um, you know, there's still that space that there's a chip off of the corner of your heart, a cornerstone missing here and there, and a little emptiness here and there, because these people aren't going to be here this year. Or maybe it's like my mom, 41 years she's been gone.
Oh,
Cancer
right.
took her was 41, and it's this time of the year when we found out she had cancer. So that hits me too. So this time of the year is not always so celebratory for everyone. And what do I do when I'm struggling in these times with emotions? Because let's face it, I have to be on. I'm a personal trainer, I'm a Pilates instructor. We have
Right.
a lot to accomplish in an hour's workout. I'm not going to be anything but positive. So how do
Right.
I maintain that and get back there? I pick up my guitar,
Mm,
and this song came out, and that's why I thought I had to play it for you. Yeah.
yeah. It's
And this song came
spectacular.
out, and it's the place that I'll go, and it's Christmas in my heart. And
Mm,
that's what that is. And I think we all have to find something. I know music heals.
I agree with you.
Recorded a lot of that CD called Another Interruption, that came out the same time as my book, and the song's on there. And I was standing here in bare feet in my nightgown, bald, with my
Wow.
headphones on, just as much as I could, because some of the drugs I was on for treatment affected your lungs, your breathing. You would get exhausted very easily. Your hemoglobin was struggling, all of those things. But we did it, and that came out at the same time. And because music heals,
Mm,
movement heals,
mm,
art heals. I can go on. Sharing heals.
mm,
You share
mm,
your journey, and that's what's helping others heal. So
mm,
all of this, and for me, definitely, that's what I need to do when I'm struggling in situations, is pick up the guitar.
mm.
Sometimes get in the car and start driving, because boy, you can write really good songs with the rhythm of the road.
I
Yeah.
believe it. I know what happens to me the minute I go out and go for a walk, or the minute I drive up to Idlewild. I know exactly what happens to my mind, so I can imagine like you probably just get all these downloads with songs, right?
Well, it's funny, last year we put out a video, Angel in the Snow. And have you seen that one? We shot it at, here I am, a Canadian in California, shooting a video about snow. Where do
Yeah.
we go? We go to Hollywood Snow Company. My friend Lori Bailey, she is at this place. We had fake snow, and it is a fun video. But yeah, you could see that one, Angel in the Snow. Because I
Angel
think,
in the Snow. I'm gonna
yeah,
have to go watch it. Okay.
it's on YouTube.
Okay.
So we shot that in fake snow, but that song, I wrote that in the car probably right after we moved here, and it was our first winter. And I remember driving, and I was working all over, and we were living in Van Nuys. We had one car. We shared one car for a year and a half in the San Fernando Valley. Tell me,
Wow.
heard of anybody else trying that? People said, and you're still married?
Yeah, exactly.
And here Joe's working at Amigo Studios, and I was working at an advertising agency in Santa Monica, right on the
Uh,
border of Venice. We had one car, and it was a Volkswagen Fox that didn't have air conditioning.
oh my gosh.
We drove it from Canada, right, with two suitcases and two guitars. Yeah. And so I would go to bed from that job, and then about 2 in the morning, he'd call me, and I'd get out of bed, put my jeans on, I'd go pick him up, and then he'd come. Oh yeah, that went on for, yeah, but you figure it out, right? You
It,
make it work. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You do.
And I know you had similar thing. You had kids, you raised
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
I have a bird.
We all have our stuff. We all do our thing, right?
That's it. That's it. Yeah, we all figure it out, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of did that. And so that's where we were. Then we ended up out here in the Ventura County side. And, after the 90s and then life goes on, I just started getting involved with whatever jobs I could. I did any kind of job. I was catering at a company out here in Westlake Village.
This
And
is why you're such a good cook, is you make amazing food. I'm so excited to try some of your recipes.
I love to cook. Cannot wait to do some more cooking videos for everyone. I think I have 4 or 5 there now, but I was working at catering in a place in Westlake Village, California at that time. And at that time, there was the Johnson Cancer Center Foundation had their monthly meetings right there. So I was always put on staff to be bussing the tables, yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that. And this meeting, I just was so moved because we had just moved here
Hmm.
from Canada, and it wasn't long since I'd lost my mom from cancer. And when I lost her, I thought I've got to do something to raise money,
Yeah.
And she was 41 years old and was diagnosed with colon cancer, and she died 9 weeks later.
I was just going to say, I remember it was very, very short amount of time that she passed away.
Holy,
Yeah.
like what? I mean, at 41, you weren't getting a colonoscopy then.
Yeah.
So I just thought I've got to do something to get involved. And this looked like this was my mom kind of saying, here, honey,
Hmm.
look at these women and these men in this room making a difference to cancer research and patient care.
Yeah.
And I became an honorary member that day. Sorry, I'm getting emotional about
No,
that.
it's okay, Chris. You've got a powerful story.
The president of that foundation at that time here in Westlake Village, her name is Nancy Israel. I just saw her.
Mm.
She's in her 90s. And she was more than mover and shaker. This woman was the most tenacious person I've ever met in my life. And she did not take no. And if there was a way, she found out to make it happen. She was
Wow.
incredible. So I joined the foundation, and we were doing fundraisers and golf tournament and whatever we could to raise money for the Johnson Cancer Center Foundation, because one seed grant to save lives was at that time $25,000. So for every $25,000, we were buying a seed grant that would
Yeah.
pay for scientists and doctors to go in there and let's find out what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
And then one day she said, Chrissy, you're coming with me to UCLA Westwood because there's an amazing lecture. And Dr. Susan Love is going to be talking, and so is an amazing oncologist. And he's going to be talking about something he discovered for the first gene-targeted therapy. And I said, well, okay, it all sounds really complicated to me, but I'll go and pretend I know what they're talking about, right? So I went in the bus, and we all went down there together to Westwood, and we sat there, and I'm telling you, my mouth was hanging open, I think, and just listening to this, I could not believe it. This Dr. Dennis Sleeman at UCLA had discovered the first gene-targeted therapy for the most aggressive, fast-growing breast cancer that women were dying from. There was no stopping it, right? So he needed more money for more FDA, approval. He
Yeah.
needed more tests done. So I left there, and we yacked all the way back to Westlake Village, and I was so motivated. I got to do something here, and it has to be more than an auction. So I thought, I can cook. I'm going to make a cookbook. So I found a good place that could help me with a fundraising cookbook, and I put it out there, and I put 100 of my own recipes, 100 of my cousin's recipes. That is a real chef. I'm just a pretend chef. I collected recipes from the Johnson Cancer Center Foundation everywhere I went. We were working in the studio then, so I'd go in there and people would give me recipes. So people from all over, from Japan, from here, wherever, Canada, put recipes in this book. And 500 recipes, just a regular fun cookbook, home cooking. And I pretty well sold out really fast out of the trunk of my car. Everywhere I went, I had them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be in the line at the grocery store, and somebody in front of me, I would say, hey, I have a cookbook for cancer research. If you want to get one, I've got them in the car for $10. And they'd follow me in the car.
Wow.
I was like, the guy selling things out of his coat, right? But, I sold out. I remember setting up a table on Moore Park Road for their fall festival and yelled out, autograph cookbooks, $10, because I figured $10, clear, bang, selling
Yeah.
out. In the end, sold them all. And we got a check to the Johnson Cancer Center Foundation for Dr. Dennis Slayman to move forward with the research. As little as it might have been, it was a little bit more to chip away at the money they needed for those seed grants, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
$25,000 seed grant. And that was in 1995. And then it was 3 years later. And the FDA approved that drug that he discovered. And it was the first gene-targeted therapy, right? And then it was only for the people that had been diagnosed with that aggressive breast cancer, and it was metastatic. So that means it had spread more else.
Okay.
So anybody that was diagnosed with that breast cancer, that it wasn't metastatic, mine wasn't metastatic, that person couldn't get that drug. And
Wow.
they were dying.
Wow.
So this is how the FDA put the rule on that one. So it wasn't until 2010, 12 years later, it took 12 more years for funding and testing before it was finally approved for all patients diagnosed with what is called HER2 positive breast cancer. And just 7 years after that, I was diagnosed.
I was just going to say, so then.
Yeah, no breast cancer in my family. And I'm diagnosed with that form of protein-driven cancer, aggressive. Only 20% of the breast cancers are that type. Most are hormone-driven. You hear HRPR positive, right? When you see those commercials for drugs on TV and they say HER2 negative,
Yeah.
my cancer, it won't help that kind, right? So this drug, Herceptin, was pretty remarkable. And here I am now, 7 years after it was approved for those of us diagnosed with HER2 positive breast cancer. And I fundraised for this drug that I was now getting that helped save my life. I was also on 3 other drugs, one called Perjeta, very strong, one called Taxotere, and that's poison.
Wow.
And then one called, I'm forgetting, my goodness. And then the Herceptin was the fourth drug, and that was the one I fundraised for. And yeah, so who knows, right? Now, the first thing when somebody's diagnosed, and I know somebody's listening right now because there's a lot of us. There are a lot of survivors out there. There are a lot fighting right now. I have a lot in my life right now that are going through treatment that are not knowing where the end of the tunnel is, because I went through that tunnel every month and I just kept waiting to get out of that tunnel. And then I'd have about 10 good days and then you're back in that tunnel again,
Can you describe that? Because you talk about the tunnel in your book. Describe that. And I just want to back up just for a second because I want to talk about the tunnel, but you were really good about going in for regular mammograms and all that, right? And this was the last one you went into. I think it was like a Memorial weekend or something. I can't remember what it was, some holiday weekend. And then they said it wasn't.
I was 6 months late for being 1 year, and I always wasn't exactly 1 year,
Yeah.
Remember, I was 6 months late. And of course, in hindsight, thinking, what if I thought, may as well wait till next October? Because I was in October, right? It just felt like it was almost, it was more than 6 months late even. And I had company coming, my cousin coming and her kids. We can have pajama party, just, have fun and dance and make pizza and have fun, right? And so I thought, well, today I got to go get my mammogram because you do your women's wellness exam every year. Hopefully everyone does. Never wait. Never wait. Get that booked when you do it. Before you leave, get it booked for the next year. Just do it, right? And so that appointment, she sets me up for all these other ones, including the mammogram and, if it's the blood work and whatever else you have to do, right? So I thought, well, I'll get ready for my mammogram before I come back. I got everything ready in the house for the pajama party and the family. And I got in the bathroom and I was just getting ready to go in the shower and I'm naked, and I just look in the mirror and I usually do check and I don't feel anything. And for some reason, this morning, right before I went for my mammogram, I stood in the mirror and my arms from the sides, I raised them up, out to
Yeah.
the sides, up to the top, like circled them up and circled them down. And I looked at my right side. And when I did that, I thought, what's that? There's a dent. And I thought, I'm like an old friggin' car. I'm getting dents, right? Like, nobody told me that we get dents when we get old. So I raise them up again and I'm looking. That's it. What is that? So then I put my arms down and then I do see a crease I had never seen before.
Wow.
And I got a little nervous then, got in my shower, got myself to the mammogram, kept trying to forget it. I got in there and I filled out all the paperwork and they said, you want to do the 3D mammo? It'll cost an extra $45 because it's not approved by your insurance yet. Because it was kind of, the thing 7 years ago. It wasn't the big thing. Now it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have changed in 7 years.
Yeah.
And
Just you mean as far as the technology and the way they can read it as well, correct? Yeah. Okay.
Well, just what is showing that you have cancer and what isn't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The year before, I didn't have 3D mammo. Maybe this was there.
Ah, yeah.
Hormone
Wow.
breast cancers have a slower growth rate.
Say that again. Hormone?
Hormone-driven breast cancers
Okay.
grow slower
Okay.
than this one. This is rapid.
Which was
So,
a protein base.
protein-driven.
Protein
Yeah.
driven. Okay.
All of our cells have HER2 receptors on them. Like, everybody started to see what cells looked like when we went through COVID.
Ah, yeah.
Right? Remember all those wiggly things on the top of COVID?
Yeah.
Receptors. So all of our cells have some protein receptors on our cells. We have receptors and everything that will be activating, and they're like little computers in our body, right? Well, something broke down for me in my body, and I have theories on it, and we can talk about that.
Okay.
I believe somewhere in the mitochondria, but something triggered my cells to say, amplify those HER2 protein receptors. Let's make them go crazy, make them grow so much that it's cancer. And that's what happened.
Wow.
And so I went and I sat down. Now, I didn't have a 3D mammo ever before. Okay.
This was the first time.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking in hindsight now. Maybe it was there, the mammogram before, right?
Yeah.
I said, well, no, $45. And then the girl beside me, she came and sat down, the nurse, and she looked at me. And it's almost like she knew. And she
Wow.
looked in my eyes and she said, are you sure? And I looked back at her and I got scared.
Ah.
I just got present there for a moment. And I remembered what I was trying to forget about the dent in my boob. And I said, okay. And I whipped out a credit card and I said, do it. And the problem that day was I had been really struggling. They just discovered this, this cyst the size of a
Oh,
golf
yeah.
in my facet joints between my L4 and my L5 facet joints. Now, if you look at your back at the bottom there, where the back is, your waist in the back and your lumbar there. Well, around there, just think of your spine, and then on either side of the spine, there's like sway bars. If you think of pulling a trailer,
Yeah.
you have sway bars on that so it doesn't rock back and forth. And you keep the trailer stable so you don't rip it off your car, right? Well, that's what these sway bars do on our spine. I think of them like sway bars, and they kind of stabilize our spine. They're facet joints. They keep everything kind of moving, and they move around. Well, this cyst was growing between and broke those facet joints, and I was in extreme pain with this sciatic pain that I could barely walk, and I had been struggling for a couple months waiting for the insurance to approve an MRI to see what was in my back. And I'm thinking, what is this growth in my back? right?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
going on there. So already I'm kind of thinking in that way, but and so I'm thinking about this longer time of standing, which is hard. So I described what the issue I was having with the sciatic pain. There's something in my back. We don't know what it is. This is before the MRI. We didn't know there was a cyst in there. I just knew I couldn't walk and stand without pain. So we got it organized. I had a stool I could sit down between the boob squeezing and all that, right?
yeah,
So I got it done. Yeah. And that was a Friday. And I came home and I let it go. I had to
yeah.
be a and let it roll off my back, right? And then we had a family party all weekend. And then they left on Sunday night to go home. And Monday morning at 8 a.m., the phone rang. And at that time, we still had a landline and it identified who was calling on the screen. And I looked and it said UCLA.
Hmm.
And I think I lost my breath for a sec.
Yeah,
And I let it ring right up until the last second because I almost didn't want to get it because I knew.
yeah,
I knew. Yeah. And the next day we went to UCLA Westwood for more imaging. Yeah. And I write about that.
yeah.
I just observed everything possible. I want to know everything I can. So I just had my eyes open from that moment on.
And you
That's
did an amazing job, Chris. I mean, I think that's what's really powerful. This book is such a good read for anyone. There's just so much in it. It shows, like I've shared, your leadership. It shows how organized you were, how you took this all so seriously, and kind of back to what you were talking about. You said you went in the tunnel. Now people need to know too that you had 6 rounds of chemo and 35 rounds of radiation, which is,
oh yeah.
and you did not have a mastectomy, correct?
Oh, mastectomy. No, I didn't. It
Which
was
is phenomenal.
my oncologist. We had a long talk about that, because of course, the first thing you think of is take them out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what
Come
we all
out.
think,
I
right?
don't want
Right,
them. And
right.
like I said, besides, I've had a love-hate relationship with these two my whole life anyway. You
Yeah.
know, they're always in the way. My God. And he had a long talk and he said, I think we're going to be fine if you don't have a mastectomy. And I know people just say, take them out. And he said, it is a serious surgery and there are a lot of complications with it. And then what? And so I said, well, and Joe was there with me for every decision. And I said, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And we went a different route to not have that, which we also have to talk about in this interview.
Okay.
We also have to talk about that. Also, with the other discovery that I talked about with you, that I would like to talk about in this interview as well.
Do you want to share that now?
Yes, yes.
Because was that a recent discovery that you made when you
Yeah, kind of, in the last couple years,
found that fascinating? So go ahead and share that what we
I kind of
discovered.
buried it a little bit, because what's the point? But I
Yeah,
think now I have
yeah,
to,
yeah,
uh, because I had to get past the guilt
yeah,
as well. And
yeah.
tell the story, everyone will understand. I felt guilty for letting myself down. Yeah.
Oh, Chrissy.
Okay. So anyway, the tunnel. We were talking about the tunnel.
Yes, yes. So let's talk about the tunnel. I want to know what the tunnel. You talk about
Okay.
this a lot in the book.
So I realized that I had to stay completely healthy throughout this. I did not want to end up in the hospital with sepsis and infection and my blood counts getting really bad and being malnourished. And I wanted to be able to stay as healthy as possible. So I created a program for myself
Yeah.
when my chemo started. I brought my bag with everything I needed and I was prepared. I set up the night before, just like I did before I would start a long training day. And I
Yeah.
put my things out, whether it was clothing and my notebook and I put everything out that I wanted to take to have a successful treatment day. And I went in for infusion 4 days in a row, and then I would be off for 3 weeks and then 4 days in a row. So my program I created for myself was once that first chemo went in and I got a port in my chest, so they would plug me in there. once the first day of 4 that started from that, I would not do anything but go to the treatment center and home for 10 days.
So you would
Unless
just stay without, so you just keep yourself safe from being.
isolated, unless it was a doctor's appointment, and I
Uh-huh.
wore masks. And this is before COVID. I wore gloves and everything. I was just really cautious for my diet and nutrition
Yep.
during the whole year was no raw vegetables, no any I never dined out anyway, so it's like no salad bars. And during treatment, my food and eating was very simple and plain, because even one speck of pepper would have burned my mouth, and those things can give you mouth sores.
Yeah.
And when I heard that in the chemo lesson, before you start chemo, you go for a lesson and you sit there and you find out all this terrifying stuff that's going to happen to you, right?
Yeah.
So we left there, we went to the drugstore. It's okay. We need something to make me poop. We need something to make me stop pooping. We need something to help my stomach ache. Like you just needed to cover all the bases. So we just took the list and we got everything and got it covered, right? So there were so many things you had to go through. So the food was a really hard part. And when they described that you could get mouth sores and this drug causes mouth sores, carboplatin, taxotere, Perjeta, and Herceptin, that combination, that was my cocktail, shall we call it, and could cause mouth sores. Well, Terry, I used to, before cancer, right up until that chemo lesson, I bit the sides of my cheek on the inside of my mouth.
Really?
The dentist would say, you're going to bite a hole through your teeth. It was a nervous thing. I didn't even know when I do it. My mother
Wow.
would like you screw up your face a bit. You kind of you bite the side of your
Yeah.
cheek. Some people do that, biting the inside of your lip. Like it's just a nerve. You don't even know when you do it.
Yeah.
After that lesson, I haven't done it since.
Wow.
It's so nice to not have that bad habit.
Wow.
I pick my nose now, but no, just kidding.
I love it. You have such a great sense of humor, and that's the other thing that got you through. But I
Oh,
think
dude.
you did meal prep too. Like you were really disciplined with your eating, and you do not eat sugar at all. And she shares this in the
Oh,
book.
they gave
No
they
sugar.
phoned me that day, and that was it. When they called me with the diagnosis, yeah.
Yeah.
In 7 days. After that day, when they called and I was looking at the screen and we had to go down and we had to do more testing and biopsies. Then from that day, you leave your appointment, and they give you all the numbers. And that's why I
Oh,
wrote that in the book,
jeez.
because it's like, and it's up to you. I could have said, nope, I just want to live out my life.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I could
Yeah.
have done that.
Yeah.
I could have done that. And in the past, I thought I would have done that.
Yeah.
I would always say, nope, nope, they're not cutting me open, they're not doing it. Nope, I don't want to get sick and throw up for the rest of my life. I saw my mom go through that and then she died. I just want to live out my life. She might have
Mm.
lived longer. And I just always thought I'd do that, right? But then you're faced with it. Like, if this is really happening, is this really happening to me? I would kind of say that. Am I like delusional here? Because when I went through my recovery from my skull surgeries and all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
the brain was swollen. I was making up stories and stuff to the family because I was kind of like delusional at times, right? When I was recovering. And so at times going through is this really happening to me? It
Uh,
was. So then right in the car when we were heading home from UCLA Westwood on the PCH, I remember on the PCH there on my mobile phone, just calling to try and get an appointment, and all of them were booked out so far. And I said, I don't care. Well, I'll drive to San Francisco, UCLA. I don't care where I have to go. And we finally found the soonest we could get was, I think it was 10 days. We had to wait, I think 7 or 10 days, and we had to go up to Santa Clarita
yeah.
there somewhere. I didn't even know where it was until we started driving. We went for the appointment. It was the quietest drive in the world.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So when I got the call from that biopsy, everything changed. I haven't
Yeah.
had any sugar in my body except once when we didn't know it was.
I found that really interesting. And I think one of the takeaways, I wrote down my takeaways, but one of the things that you said is that, I mean, A, you had an amazing team of doctors and you really
Yes.
trusted them, and how fascinating that you knew about the is that right? Herceptin? I don't know if that's the right word, the drug. But then you said you let the doctors fight for you and do the work, and your job was just to nurture and take care of yourself. And
Yeah.
I think you even talk about it in the book where you say the doctor said, most people don't do what you did. You were like the perfect patient. You did everything they told you to do. You took care of yourself. You rested. You went into your tunnel where you rested. You knew those days exactly when you could go out. You knew what food you could eat. That became your full time job. And you really took care of yourself and you treated it like I'm not kidding, like a marathon. I think for anybody, it's just such a great book to read, Chrissy, because I mean, I know how you trained all of us, but I had so many takeaways. And that was one of them. Like, you took this so seriously. And just like you were talking, we have a choice. We can give up and say, okay, this is
Yeah.
it, or we can do what you
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
right?
I
So,
thought if I'm going to do this job, I want a corner office and a raise.
and you deserve it. You
It's
you were
so
the
funny too. My very last treatment, the nurse walked me in and took me to the corner cubicle. It was the biggest spot. I got my corner office for my last infusion. It was in the corner chair. I got the big lazy boy in the corner.
that's
So I
amazing.
did get it, yes. But it is true. We have to make a choice. And I made a
Yeah.
choice. And some days it was hard. And
Yeah.
everything had to come into play with movement and nutrition and mindset and nurturing. All of those things had to come into play. And
Yeah.
that's why part two of my book came into play, turning
Yeah.
my purpose into, turning my journey into a purpose, to not say it backwards. Yeah. So even with movement, I had a yoga mat on the floor beside my bed for a year. And
Wow.
if I got up to go to the bathroom or got any time, I had to hit that mat and do something. And sometimes I just hit that mat and cried,
Wow. I mean,
because you do what you can,
yeah.
right? You do what you can.
And you
Uh,
were so disciplined and so structured. I mean, that's the thing that was, I know this going to hear all these rattling of paper. I had a note here that I mean, I found that really fascinating. The other thing that was kind of interesting, you said that last treatment, like once you knew it was over, that you kind of were depressed that it was over. And what was that? Like, does that just become such a part of your life for so long? Or I've never seen anybody so disciplined as you were. Like that was just,
I loved getting my blood work every 3 weeks and seeing where the numbers were. And
yeah,
what do you mean now I have to wait 3 months to see the oncologist to get my blood work and see how I'm doing?
mm,
Those were results of the job that I was doing. It was like
ah,
getting a job report for me, because there were patients I overheard sometime when I was waiting for my blood work to come back before you could get infused and all those, terrifying drugs put into your body, all that poison injected into you. That was not only killing the cancer, but it was killing good stuff too.
yeah,
I mean, there
yeah.
were worse things that happened. My feet peeled. Like
Wow.
weird that my toenails went black. And like my fingernails got black stripes on them. I mean, weird things happened. But I
Wow.
love not having hair anywhere. That was really nice.
Oh,
Everywhere was like a baby's bum. But when you would be getting your infusions and you got to see very familiar people, and sometimes you didn't want to hear, and you unfortunately overheard that their counts weren't good enough that day. And I
wow.
was scared of that, because then you had to wait another 3 weeks. And that was you're giving that cancerous cell to grow. I just looked at it like I had an army of that had to go in there and beat down these guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Out,
yeah.
get them out of there. So that was my goal, is to be able to not miss any treatment. Everything that went into my body better be clean and
Yeah.
organic, non-toxic.
And you
And
talk about that in your book now too, right? All the even cleaning products and anything you put on your body, deodorant, makeups, all of that. You talk about all of that in the book, so I highly
learned
recommend it again.
so much.
Yeah, 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 right? Really
I
powerful, Chrissy.
Thank you. It was a job. It was a
Yeah.
job. I decided I was going to take care of myself the best I could for that whole year of treatment. And I wrote updates to the family and friends and my clients that whole time on what I was experiencing, what I was going through, what I was learning that would help somebody else. they were forwarding them to other people that needed to
Oh.
as well. So during that time, I realized, okay, well, I'm going to put this in a book and I'm going to help
Mm.
others. And it was when I finished treatment, my cousin Lois, she gave me a gift of a massage at, the Four Seasons. They do that little pamper package and all
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I went that day by myself with my notebook, and I wrote the introduction to my book sitting on that chaise lounge. Me and my bald head out there
Wow.
at the pool. Yeah. Yeah. And that's when I started, and I just started to put it down.
Yeah.
Right. It was fresh. The feelings were fresh. When I recall things now to you, it's so fresh. I get
Yeah.
so present there that I get emotional with it.
Yeah.
But there's so much that we can take control over.
I think whether you have cancer or not, I mean, this is a great book for anyone. I want everybody to be a great gift for a holiday gift because your story is powerful, but you also have great tools for how to live your life right now. And I think as midlife women, to take care of ourselves, it's so important that we be careful what we're putting in our body, with our food, and then also what we're putting on our body. And another thing you talk about too is alcohol. I normally didn't drink a whole lot, but here comes COVID, and what else we had? And that was a huge eye opener also that you talk about. Give the statistics for those that drink alcohol.
One glass of wine can give anybody a 5% chance. One glass of wine gives you a 5% chance of breast cancer.
Mind-boggling.
Increases
Scary.
the chance of breast cancer. That's how you say it. Yeah, according to the American Institute for Cancer Research,
Wow.
one glass of wine increases your chance of breast cancer by 5%.
Scary.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Another really, I mean, there's just so many golden nuggets in there, Chrissy. Like it's just,
Thank you very much.
you really did
The
incredible
lesson
research.
that we can take control. I was a perfect storm when this happened. So are we, do you have another question? Because I won't stop
I
talking.
know, no, because I was going to say, what do you want women to know? And do you want to share a little bit about what you thought
My
about?
discovery.
Pardon?
My discovery.
Yeah, your
Yes.
discovery. I think it'd be really great. So, what do you want women to know and your discovery? Because I think this is really important, Share a
Yes.
little bit about that, what we were talking about.
Always go get your exams.
Mm,
But 3D mammo and
mm,
ultrasound. Get checked. Get your blood work done all the time.
hmm.
Check yourself. 3 oncologists couldn't feel mine.
3 oncologists could not feel it.
No, it couldn't be, they couldn't find it. It was a mass. It wasn't a lump. You see? So you have to go and get these things checked with the scans and everything. Yes.
So now these mammograms that flatten your boob like a pancake, they are worth they're worth it because they're 3D. Yeah.
Yes. And take a look at what unfortunately most people are more concerned about what they put in their car than what they put,
Mm,
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah, like what oil and like really take let's
Yeah.
think about our bodies. We are like cars. We're going to run a lot better if we put cleaner food in our body,
Right.
toxic food. I never bothered with organic before, but now I do.
Yeah.
I do. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. I do not want to turn on those HER2 cells again. I do not want to turn on that cancer again. What I was talking about earlier and saying I had to get past the guilt of feeling guilty for doing this to myself, because when you're diagnosed with cancer, and I think anybody out there listening, and there's a lot of us, first thing you think of is like, what did I do? And when my doctor looked at me that first day, when Dr. Ashuri, an amazing oncologist here at UCLA, and he said, first thing I want to say, it's not your fault.
Mm,
Didn't do anything
wow.
to cause this. And I carried that, and I kept hearing that whenever I needed to hear that. I kept hearing his voice say that whenever I needed it to be repeated. And then I thought, who knows? I was a makeup artist for years and years. I've been wearing makeup since I was allowed to, when my mom taught me how to put it on. I
Yeah.
wear hair products. I mean, everything,
Right.
who
Right.
knows, right? I
Right.
get stressed. And who knows? Who knows how I got it?
Right.
And then a couple years ago, I was down in the garage and I had my mobile phone in my hand. and I needed to get something, and I needed 2 hands. And I did something, Terry, that you saw me do many times on the marathon course as the coach, running around like a maniac, finding everybody, having my phone. People are calling me, people are texting me, and I'd get my phone and I'd slip it right into the right side of my bra in the front. And that's what I did out of habit for the first time since coaching in the garage. And I froze.
Mm.
And I looked and I took the phone out where I'd placed it. And the mass in the line of ground zero, because the surgery scar and indentation and everything that was done there from taking it out, is exactly where the base of the phone sat.
Wow.
It rested right there. And although it's a different phone, 7 years ago when I was coaching, that was a flip phone. Still, the base of whatever phone would sit right in my bra at that spot,
Wow.
right where ground zero was.
That was mind-boggling when you told me that. And I remember you doing that. I remember.
And here I'm out there as a marathon coach. I didn't have a phone for all 16 years of being a marathon coach. We had walkie-talkies, if you can imagine, back there at the beginning. But from the time I had a mobile phone and I was out there, if I didn't have a case or just quickly in and out, because I could hear it better when it was closer to my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
And we talked about this too, because I said I have boys that put their phone in their pockets, right? Now there's studies done that are saying that that it can actually cause testicular cancer, right?
Yes, because then I started to look it up.
Yeah. Another key takeaway.
Breast cancer. And how did I learn that little habit? I saw other women do it.
Wow. Yeah.
I thought, good idea. So you know what, ladies? Stop it.
Yeah. And I have gone from my walk. I've gone from my walk and put it in my hip.
There you go. Yeah.
So I mean, after this conversation today, I'm no longer going to do that.
You're the first person I've told. My husband knows, and I've told one of my clients.
Yeah.
And this is it. And now whoever's listening to this is going to hear. I didn't write it in my book. I didn't think of it then. I didn't come to me till I actually did that habit move. And I froze and cried in the garage and thought, I gave it myself.
Oh, Chrissy. Right. And we can't do that to ourselves because we don't know.
No.
But, we don't know.
So here's now what I don't want it back. So I'm doing everything I can do to not get it back and telling everybody how to not get it back and maybe avoid getting that diagnosis in the first place. And if I wasn't overweight, and if I wasn't overstressed, overworked, over everything, because I am a over person, if I wasn't overachieving in every way and trying to do everything that I was and not putting myself on the top of the list, not putting myself first. And if I wasn't, I was just a perfect storm waiting to happen. I was a perfect storm waiting to happen. So when that possibility of a mobile phone in that area of sensitivity happened, all the other pieces came together and boom, there I was, HER2 positive breast cancer.
Wow. And I think it's so important for anyone listening into this today. I mean, I know you as such a strong leader, and after reading your book, it's amazing the way you took this on and the way you've overcome it. And
so much.
I think that, we can blame ourselves for things, right? But to hear you today, Chrissy, I mean, I just want to thank you for being here, because when I'm listening to you, when I hear the power in your voice, when I hear your strength, when I think all the lives that you touch from your experience, where you take the mess and you make it a message, you take the pain and turn it into a purpose, there's incredible power in that. Incredible power. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I do this podcast, because
the only reason I met you is because I was in the car accident. Because when they said you may never walk again, I said, bull crap.
Watch me. No, you said,
me and I started walking.
Yeah. And
And I
look at
26.2 miles the first time. And I dragged my leg across that finish line. But I did it. And I said, take that. Yeah, here I am. I walked it. You said I may never walk again. And I did. And it was like 10 years later. And then I thought, well, if I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah.
And that's where you came in.
Exactly. Exactly. And what a gift that was. And I love the name of it too, Team Believe. I mean, just look at how all of that, it's so interesting. I say God, universe, whatever. I uses all of that to bring it all together, to
Yes.
believe, right? I love the name. That really drew me into just Team Believe.
I had to believe. You had to believe. You got
Yeah.
I had to make you believe me.
You can do this.
Trust me, eat this. It'll help you. Yeah.
And I will never forget the emotion that I had crossing that finish line. Never forget that. Never forget just achieving that. And so here we are 10 years later. It's pretty powerful. So share just a little bit about, and then we'll kind of wind this down a little bit, but what you do today, because you still are an incredible leader. You're a coach and you need to be a speaker. You are so dynamic, and I'm excited that people get to hear your voice and your singing. And I'm going to put, like I said, I'll put all this here in the show notes for people to connect with you, because you do Zoom training. So I'll let you tell everybody what you do now and how to find your book, what you're doing now. You train?
Well, yes, I've been a personal trainer for many years. I never stopped being a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And I write about that in the book. And a lot of banging my head against the wall too, being a singer-songwriter and always having to prove myself. And and then all of a sudden I just found this personal training, and that was really simple for me, and I was getting great results. And then the coaching and seeing these people go from the couch to the finish line, and all of that happened. I became a personal trainer while I was an ambassador and a leader for Weight Watchers. Because quite honestly, I've just struggled with weight challenges my whole life because I use food. I talk about a lot in the book.
Yeah,
weight,
you do. Yeah.
Because I'm actually 50 pounds less than I was when I was diagnosed.
That was astounding to me when you told me that in the beginning of this. I didn't realize.
Wasn't I? But I was more like a linebacker.
You were fit.
I was solid. I was strong. I could pick up 3 people and carry them across. Apollo Ono had nothing on these calves. But so I was fit, and but I had way too much fat on me because I ate too much. I ate the right food. I used food. Used food to take care of any anxiety and stress and how to make it through. It was always, well, if I ate better, I felt, if I ate something, I'd feel better. And I was kind of raised like that, in that environment of eating, eat something, you'll feel better, right?
Right.
It became a real problem for me, and for for performing too. If I don't feel good about the way I look, I don't want to go out there and look like I'm, like lumpy and overweight, and like I just don't want to do that. So it held me back a lot. I let my weight hold me back from a lot in my life. I've never said that a whole lot. I never wanted to admit that a whole lot. But you know what, Terry, I'm going to be 65. So it doesn't matter anymore what I need to hide and what I don't want to bother hiding. And you know what? I will admit it, that my weight issues held me back from performing and from putting myself out there with my talent. Because unfortunately, that's the kind of industry it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
And for women especially.
Let it get to me. I really let it get to me. And then all of a sudden I found, hey, Weight Watchers, this is a job that can help me stay in my weight goal. So I kind of chose the job for selfish reasons, to help me. And then as a result, I really enjoyed lecturing. I loved it. And then Weight Watchers recognized that, fortunately, and I ended up becoming one of their ambassadors. And I was really lucky to be able to go to any TV shows where they needed a representative, talk shows on the radio, a newspaper, quotes, anything like that to do with weight loss. And that I was the ambassador that they could call, or guest speak at an event. And during that time, I was very lucky to be a guest speaker for the at the Hollywood Highland Center. There were about 800 people there, and the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, was the guest, and I opened the show for her, and
Wow.
she was so beautiful in
Mm.
person, and she was representing Weight Watchers at that time, and I said to my boss, my manager, because I was, supposed to go up on stage and warm up the crowd for the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. No problem. And she said, she said she'll let you know when she's going to come up. We'll give you the signal. So I'm thinking 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I think it was over an hour. It was a long time till finally, yes. So I had to just pull it out of where and go for it. But that was a lot of fun. But I did a lot of things like that too for Weight Watchers, and that helped me keep my weight in check. And so did marathoning too. But I
Yeah.
still managed during my 40s and 50s to just gain weight, hormones and eating and drinking and socializing and all those things, and
Wow.
stress
Wow.
causes weight gain as well. We know that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know all of that
Yeah.
now. But anyway, here I found myself retired from coaching, still working as a personal trainer and Pilates instructor and doing whatever else I could, and cooking, and now I'm a perfect storm and was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
We don't
But
have the
do
perfect
you do
storm.
you do one-on-one coaching though now, right? With people for
Yes,
people.
I know.
Yes.
You're trying to get me,
No, no, no. I want to because
but I
I'm
wanted to
promoting
bring
you,
this
Chrissy.
up.
I'm
Yeah, I
promoting
wanted to
you.
bring this up because 13 cancers can be caused by obesity.
That's amazing.
Did you
13
know that just
cancers.
being like just over 10 pounds of being overweight is obese? Like it
Wow.
doesn't take much to be obese, you know?
Yeah.
We have to keep our weight in check. That's number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I do have a program because I did downsize just by what I eat. I
Yeah.
am not on a diet. I just make the choices that aren't going to ruin my body and are
Yeah.
going to keep it as toxin free as possible. So I have classes I teach on Zoom. It's an invitation. You have to know somebody kind of to get in, like the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
I love it.
Um, and then I also teach private clients at a country club we have out here in
Yeah.
the area. And I from word of mouth over all these years, I have many clients that I go to their homes and train them. I train them privately on Zoom, and I am certainly available to privately train anybody on Zoom, whether we talk with nutrition coaching.
Yep.
I am hold certificates in plant-based sports nutrition, and nutrition is a big part of my day.
Yeah.
And I really watch. There is a really true statement, simple and easy, but it's we are what we eat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to put all that here so people can reach out to you. I know you have a website and all that, but I want people to be able to connect with you. You're just, you know, I want to just say a couple things as you're talking. Like even when you first got on here, and I mean, I've been following you now for a long time, but you look better now than you did 10 years ago. Even with the cancer, your skin just glows, Chrissy. It's beautiful. You look amazing.
I appreciate that
You
so much.
look amazing.
The drugs of chemo,
Yeah.
and any of you listening out there
Yeah.
have gone through this, because there's a lot everywhere I go. I'm meeting other survivors, and boy, what it does to our skin is a little
Yeah.
scary. And we have to combat that with major hydrating. And
Yeah.
I use Ultima, which is a sugar-free, perfect drink that I got you guys on. Remember, they were one of my sponsors. A fabulous Ultima sponsored my team.
Yeah.
And they're a fabulous electrolyte drink. So I did a lot of that because I was struggling with the blood work, with my counts as I was going through all of that treatment. We have to keep on top of our complexion with that, right? And
Yeah.
the non-toxic ingredients to use.
Yeah.
And that is a whole other show, Terry.
Yes.
Has an ingredient in it called carbon black. I come from Hamilton, Ontario. We have steel towns that were in Hamilton, Ontario. And if you went for a tour of the steel the steel factories.
Yeah.
If you went for a tour there at the steel factory, that you could see how the final product and the byproduct left over from the manufacturing of steel was called carbon black. And they didn't just throw it out, they sold it to makeup companies, maybe vitamin companies, I'm not sure, other cleaning products, whatever. But I know it went to eyeliner and mascara, because
Wow.
even a mascara that one of the companies has the color is called carbon black. But if you look at the ingredients of your mascara, and if it says it has carbon black, stop using it. Change to a non-toxic mascara. Because if you wear mascara a few times a month, not everybody wears makeup like me every day. It's like I won't leave home without it.
Yeah, I've become that way too. I
You
didn't
know,
used to, but same.
Yeah, and if you don't wear it all the time, then maybe it's not that, but it's the layering effect of the toxins we use in our body. From the shampoo and the lotion we put, think of all the products
Yeah.
and put a number on it. How many products did you use today? I probably used 15. When you think about it. So it's not just that all of those products, then look at, are all of those products toxic? So then it's a buildup. So that was just today. Did you
Yeah.
do it the day before? Do you do it tomorrow? So it's like this
Yeah.
continuous buildup of that. And then that's only what you use on your body.
Yeah. I
Put it
agree.
in our body. Read the ingredients. Holy moly cannoli. What do we put into our body? And that adds up too. So all of those, can be combined to make us sick
Yeah.
in many different ways. So many ways. So yeah, so just take a look at the ingredients and things. And I do recommend products in the book, my
Yeah.
favorite mascara as well.
I know you mentioned that in the book, so I would highly recommend everybody get it because you give actually specific things to use that are non-toxic. I think that is really, really, really powerful.
Find them right
I wanted to say, my takeaways. I think I was telling you a little bit, and I just thank you so much for being here, for sharing everything. Well, a couple things. What is something fun that we don't know about you? Like a fun takeaway. I think I asked you that. Like, tell us a fun fact about you, and then I'll tell you my takeaways from the book. And
Here's a lot of the fun facts.
yeah, what's it? Because you have a very, very fun sense of humor, and I think that's the other thing that got you through your cancer is that you like to laugh. You have a very good sense of humor, and so. But tell something fun about you that we don't know.
Okay, well, because I'm sorry if I have talked too much for everyone. I keep
No,
the topic, but I have so much I want to talk about, and there's so many things that we can learn from through these experiences. But I'll tell you the funniest thing, and I don't even think I mentioned it in my book, but because somebody asked me at the end of an interview a couple years ago, and I said, you know what, I don't think I ever told him, but I was an undercover private investigator. I forgot about it kind of. At the time, I was working at the bank in short-term money market trading, stocks, bonds, notes, and for all the doing buying and selling for our clients with the brokers, right? So it was a really high, fast-paced thing. It was tons of fun. And at the night, I'd be playing in the clubs, the El Macombo places in Toronto, and then band practice or whatever, things like that. So I was at this job, and then somebody that knew me from this job, her husband, he was like a chief he was a retired RCMP, which is the Royal Mounted Canadian Police. He was retired, and he started running a private investigator company. And he needed a particular type of person for this one job he needed to crack. And she said, oh, I know somebody at work. She will be perfect. And it was in the music industry. And she's a musician, and she'll fit right in, right? So I was like, wow. So I went and I did it, and I did it in less than 6 weeks. I had 6 weeks, and he would pick me up at the end of the night. I'd have to be debriefed, and it was exciting.
How fun.
The gun, yeah.
I could totally see you doing that. I don't know why. And I bet you were amazing.
And then I went back to the bank.
Oh. But how fun. I can totally see you doing that.
Lomax PI. I have a card, Lomax PI, a picture of it.
I
yeah.
love it. I think it's awesome. But I just want to thank you. And like I said, I'll put everything here in the show notes. But my takeaways from your book, and I think I shared this in the beginning and kind of when we were off camera, but I just said, you're a powerhouse. You really are, Chrissy, and
I
just such
really
a leader. And I feel it in your book, but you've got this love and this compassion and assuredness and leadership. And your mindset was everything. Not only when you were training us, but in your book too, it comes out loud and clear. And I know you talk a lot about meditation and the power of that. You had a really super cool experience
Yeah.
again. So I highly recommend everybody read the book. But your mindset was really incredible. And you didn't even talk about getting sick as much as you probably were. Like, you read Lance Armstrong's book about how much he was sick, but you didn't even talk about that much. You stayed very, very, very positive. You focused on your routine. And I mean, there's so many takeaways from that. And I said you trained cancer, much the way you trained all of us, and for your marathon, and you did it 1 mile at a time. And I'm so grateful you're here. I'm grateful you're here today to share this story with all of us. I'm incredibly grateful for the impact you had on my life. I still think of those things that you said and told us when we were training. And I think running a marathon is so much how we do life. And there were incredible tools that I took away then and have held with me. And the other thing that I love about your book is that at each chapter, you have a quote from a song lyric, pretty much all the chapters. Am I correct? Like all your
There's
song
some
lyrics.
other song lyrics too, because there was that one song, and they always find us in the kitchen at parties. I always like that was at the beginning of the the nurture one, nourish, where I talk about the food at the end of the book. But
Yeah.
yes, mostly yes. Music heals. Get it out. If you have
Yeah.
to get it out, write it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't hold
Amen to
things.
that.
Get a pen and paper, just write it out. Whether it's for you, for somebody you need to read it, or to put it in your underwear drawer or and hide it.
It's
Or throw
true.
it out. Just get it out. And that's what I did. And it came out in songs, and it came
Mm,
out in that. Yes. And that's why I had to put lyrics at the top, because that's how I get mine out. Is
mm,
I pick up the guitar and write a song.
yeah. And that was really powerful. I mean, each one you had some great lyrics. And you say, I think in the nurture one, I think, is this your song? You say, I sit inside the heart I've made. I pushed around when memories fade. I chip away to the core, not ashamed. I wanted more.
Yeah. I sit inside the heart that I made. It's pushed around where memories fade. I chip away to get to the core. I'm not ashamed that I wanted more. I've given it away without any price.
Amen to that. There you go. There's the powerhouse within.
Thank you.
Should we end on that? That was absolutely
I
beautiful.
just, and this is such a lesson for me, because as we sit here now, I feel very anxious that I didn't give you enough of what you wanted, and I'm learning I'm enough.
Wow, Chrissy.
We have to know that.
Wow. And that
65 years, and I'm still learning that I'm enough, right?
you you gave 50 times more than I even wanted. Like you gave all of yourself and your song, your Christmas song. I think your message speaks to so many women. But isn't it interesting with all of us that when we have a story to share, when we've been given a platform to use our voice, and I think there's more coming for you in this, and I want to encourage you to continue to speak and share even more because you are an incredible leader. You have a great voice as a coach and as a leader and as a woman to empower others.
I appreciate
And it's so interesting to me that when we are that person, how that doubt floods in even more. Kind of that darkness wants to roll in and rob that of
Oh,
us. And I
yeah.
think, Chrissy, I think this is a lesson I want to encourage you to, because anytime we're being elevated, I think to go higher, that darkness comes in and wants to knock us down. And the very fact that you felt like you didn't give me enough
Yeah.
tells me that you are so much more than enough and gave me and my audience more than we could have even asked for.
I appreciate that. I do have a song. One day I'll play it for you. If it didn't get dark, how could I
Mm.
catch a star? Right? Gets a little dark sometimes, but boy, there's a lot of stars out there at 4 in the morning.
It gets dark a lot of times, doesn't it?
There
In our
are,
soul.
yeah.
Is there anything
You,
else?
girl, you're an inspiration to
Oh.
many, the way you step
Oh.
forward and help so many do that. Yes, thank you so much. I so appreciate this to be a part of your show, because this is a real big honor. Thank you so much, Terry. I hope
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything?
I have way more to talk about.
I know. And we can do this again. We can have you back on the show.
Absolutely.
There's more. I mean, because there was so much, I was like, what do I want to ask? Like, there's so much. You have an incredible story, Chrissy. You are speaking directly to women that need to hear this. Like, we all, I think, are afraid to think about cancer. We don't want to get cancer. And yet, I think many of us don't want to adjust our lifestyle. We want to have the fun. We want that extra glass of wine. We want the sugar, right?
Yeah, boy, but we don't want cancer. And
Right.
you know, I'm not saying that because you're having sugar and a cookie here and there and that you're going to get cancer. And that's not what happens.
Yeah.
You know. But I do recommend a couple fabulous books in my book at the back in my resource section to learn more about that and how cancer cells metabolize sugar. So yes, there's so much to learn about that. Always have way more to say absolutely about that. Do this again, yeah.
I would love to.
One thing, yes, where I wanted to go with when you said for, at our age, and it's never over. Even at 65, I have a new video, a rock video to shoot you. We don't stop. I was celebrating 5 years cancer-free 2 years ago on tour with the Lost 80s Live Tour, playing my Telecaster up on stage with all those 80s bands. We never can stop. There's never I'm too old for that anymore. No
Isn't
way.
that the truth?
And that's
Really?
why we take care of ourselves. We're not, we're not the same as we were before. We do have to be cautious and aware. Learn about your body. Learn about what to do, what not to do. Start to move in a way that's going to benefit you. And we can do this now. If I can maintain where I am now for the rest of my life, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Let's think about maintenance. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not slowing down, right? You're not. I mean, you're going to keep going, and that is that's a great way to end. It's true. It's never too late. If you can get up on stage and sing and perform at 65.
If you wanted to tap dance and you never did, get those little shoes on and get out there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You.
I agree. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all the good stuff. Merry.
Christmas in our hearts, right?
Yes. And you all just listen to that song. That's just a gift from Chrissy. And again, I'll put all that here where you can listen to her music and learn more about her and hire her as a coach.
I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Love you bunches. Bye.
Thank you so much for being here today. This is the longest episode I've ever done, but I couldn't cut it short because it was such an engaged conversation, and Chrissy gave so much powerful information to offer hope, to remind us to take care of ourselves, that to live our best life and realize that it's never too late to keep stepping forward. And she's such a powerhouse and gave so many golden nuggets to remind us to be fully present and to keep living our best life. And I want you to remember that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and you belong. And I'm going to let Chrissy close out this episode with some encouraging words that she used to say to us at the end of each marathon training session.
Just breathe.
Yeah. I think you say that in the book too. Breathe, exhale, breathe, or breathe, exhale.
And more important, you remember, breathe in positive energy.
Oh, right.
All negative people, negative words, negative situations, negative thoughts, and all things negative. Breathe in positive energy and good health and forward into your body, mind, and spirit. Fill up every bone and nook and cranny. Right? Yeah. I do that every day. And I do it several times a day and every class with it. So
God bless. Have an amazing day.